You guys have 5 seconds. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. It is February 6th, 2024, and we're going to start by indicating who's here. Clark.
Clark Nelson.
Karen Winder.
Chris Wynn.
Connie Burgess.
Kim Chandler.
Julie Jackson.
Todd Hubbard.
Rich Nye.
And Nicole McDermott. All right, we're going to move right on to our capital and construction update from Dawn.
Dawn and Justin
And
for
Justin,
now, and hopefully
sorry.
Chris will
And Chris
hit us mid-presentation. Again, looking at our security upgrades, we'll be doing Silver Hills this spring and into the summer, and then we'll get into design of the remaining schools for implementation, hopefully next spring and summer as well. Projects to look forward to, again, we've spoken about the Hunter High track expansion that will take all of our schools once the new Cypress is finished to 8-lane tracks. We just spoke about the Silver Hills security upgrade. We have 2 mandated maintenance and transportation fuel tank requirements. So the state's making us yank out tanks, put in new tanks and pumps that are environmentally appropriate. We're still looking at the secured vehicle parking compound for district vehicles here at the compound or at the complex. Still waiting for vestibule doors to come in for the GEC. And we have Lake Ridge and West Valley Elementary parking lot plans pretty much ready, looking to bid those out in the next month or so for summer construction.
Quick question.
Yes,
Can you give me the time frame on the Hunter High track expansion?
We're optimistic that we can get it out to bid and start and finish construction this summer.
Okay.
So we have ADA improvements that need to happen on the stadium because we're exceeding a price threshold, and then the track expansion at the same time.
Thank you.
The less exciting but all necessary boiler and HVAC projects. So again, Hunter L, Valley Crest, Hillside L, Granite Park, primarily done punch list items. Again, waiting for air handlers to arrive on Taylorsville High for their AC upgrade. Those are arriving March 9, which is 1 month ahead of schedule, so we're happy that that supplier has been proactive. Bridger for controls upgrade, let's call it 80% complete. Getting there, making sure that we have airflow sensors and VFDs, and then programming. Pleasant Green, the boiler replacement is about 50% complete. We say that because there's a primary boiler and a backup. The primary is done. We just have to get the backup in and then into the basement and installed. Chiller additions working hard. The GEC project, a lot of the cooling tower work went in, and so that's looking good at about 80%. Redoing chiller at Copper Hills. Remember, this was a very old chiller that doesn't get refrigerant that we can use anymore. It's R22, environmentally damaging. We're about 65% complete, demoed out where we're going to keep the chiller and started putting in its footing and foundation. William Penn, early stages of a chiller replacement. Same with Diamond Ridge, Granger, Oakwood, and Woodstock. They're all in the early stages and should be online in time for August start of school. Matter of fact, I think we're planning a late July completion on all of those. Truman HVAC is going on. A lot of piping, behind the scenes demolition, installation, welding of pipes, things of that nature. And just out there Friday, things were progressing. It's kind of the slow stage where it doesn't look like a lot is going on, but the backbone is being put in, including the large concrete mechanical space for the chiller. We're probably, we finished the pour, we're about 8 feet to 10 feet tall, and then we have about another 6 or 7 feet to go on top of that. Some great pictures of that. You can see this was a couple of weeks ago where the framing was up for the pour. We now have a lot of pipes in the hallway. You see them on the ground. They're now in the air, either soldered or welded at this stage at Truman. Okay, Westlake STEM. I think a lot of exciting things. If you get a chance to drive by or you look in the images, you'll start to see that it looks like a real building now, and a lot of work is going on. Contractor is probably ahead in a couple of areas that we thought maybe we're going to finish a little later than we wanted, but they're working well. Interior finishes, but just as importantly, we're starting to do coordination for furniture acquisition, furniture installation, and all of our move-in with the teachers, et cetera. So we're to that stage where we're getting some good detailed plans heading that way. Decorative metal panels at the entry are going up, so we're starting to weather tight the building. You see a lot of good interior finishes going. The storefront system, which is part of the security at the main administrative entry point. We're getting to the point in the auditorium where the floor is down, acoustic ceiling panels are starting to go up, so a lot of finish work happening in the auditorium side, and that's our kind of last to finish section, right? So when we start to see prep work for finish in our last to complete section, that's exciting for us. Starting to get the CTE Tech Lab work in. Those are electrical floor boxes for all of the equipment. Tiles going up throughout all of the restroom spaces in the building, including that in the administrative wing. Things are progressing well as far as the budget cycle, nothing to bring this month. I will say that we have a slow to deliver set of air handlers, and so the contractor is going to make provisions to climate control the building with partial amounts of air handlers in the winter time, and then they'll be in time for the summer. So the contractor's being very proactive. Hogan's been doing a very good job. We want to report, just like all construction projects, are there challenges? Yes. Is Hogan stepping up to the plate and meeting and exceeding our expectations on it? I think so. I think it's a compliment to them that through some adversity on a supplier, they're doing a good job. Fair?
I agree.
Great.
I agree.
Want to handle this one?
I do. I do need to excuse Chris. He had a little surgery, and he's recovering and getting the stitches out. So we will cover Cypress and Skyline for today, if that's okay. Cypress, all kinds of fun things. You'll see in the photos, or you've already seen the photos, some site work. We've got planter boxes and bleachers. You'll see on the football and soccer stadium, track and field as well. Fencing going up different places. Tile in some of the restrooms, you'll get to see some painting in the pool area, a lot of mechanical work going on in the mechanical yard, and then just in the other phases of the building progress. So we'll jump into the slides, and you can see there planter boxes there on the left, and again there on the right. That's the court. The one on the right there is the courtyard between the gymnasium and the academic building, which is the administrative suite there. So that's the internal surrounded courtyard, which is nice.
Just if you were curious about what it looks like today, replace anything that's white with about 6 to 12 inch deep mud. So it's a very muddy site up there, but they're working hard through that mud.
It is very muddy. You can see fencing there on the left, which is exciting to see, even curb and gutter and fencing, and then some of the visitor bleachers there on the right for the stadium. Tile in the restrooms on the left, and in the athletic building, and then some areas in the pool being painted, which is always fun to see paint going in or on.
If I can. So as they finish the painting, do some of the ceiling work, they'll dig the hole and install the pool. The pool's actually on site. The stainless steel Murtha pool is on site. They're just going to do work when it's a little easier to maneuver without dodging a big hole in the ground.
In fact, I'm sorry, go back if you wouldn't mind, Don. You see in the corner there, they left a panel out in the upper left-hand corner where they can get in and out, so that's how they're getting in there and take care of business. Mechanical service yard being framed up there with the structural steel.
As a matter of fact, I think a lot of these pictures where you see dirt is actually
some of them have been
concreted into today.
Right, underground slab there, work being done, painting in the science rooms, which is the top floor, and I was up there a week ago, and it has the aqua color, which is kind of a fun color, so it looks nice. Skylights installed in the academic wing there already, so we get some natural light into the space on that top floor. Rough plumbing, painting again. More working on some ceiling and some drywall there. And then as of this month, there was no changes that need to come to the board.
I fully understand the differences between what's happening at Skyline and Cypress in terms of the timing and how Skyline is being built on site and Cypress is being on a different site. And so we have this like day one opening plan for Cypress. And I just wanted to ask the question, is there, I mean, the Cypress community, it would be a huge win for them if we could get them on football fields or something like that this fall. Has that been discussed? Please comment. Or any athletic fields before the ribbon cutting of the official entire campus.
There certainly isn't anything ready this summer. It won't be ready. The earthwork won't be ready to be used for athletics. It's not a phase that says, hey, hurry and advance fields. We're not there yet. A lot of the power that would power those spaces hasn't, the underground's done, but we won't be connecting conductors, et cetera. It is phased, so they're doing work constantly throughout the project. I don't recall an early arrival field in any of the athletic areas.
No, the field was scheduled 3 years ago to be complete this summer, but where they knew that we weren't going to move in this summer, I don't know what the date is. We can check on that. But the problem is, it's not. I mean, we could potentially have a field, which potentially I say, but we would not have the use of any of the facilities to go in and shower or locker rooms or any of that.
Or exterior toilets.
Or exterior toilets and concession building and or any of the electrical gear in there for the press box for announcing and scorekeeping. So maybe there's a grass field or a synthetic field, but it wouldn't have all the other, necessary items.
Right. We had some discussion around the progress of the stadium today. And the progress is that the bleachers at where they're at currently today will stay that way until about fall, because that's when the earthwork goes in for the drain fields and everything associated with the turf. There was not discussion that the track surface would even be complete. They were really focusing on saying, I can get to the turf part this summer. So again, there might be something, we could look towards spring sports of next year in advance of an August opening, but this summer, we're just not there. And I'm not sure we have adequate parking, and we certainly don't have adequate site circulation, and we certainly don't have ADA access to any of the facilities. That concrete work will be going in quite late in the game, and so it's hard to open something when you don't meet all accessibility requirements, restrooming requirements, et cetera.
I think I understand that it isn't, that the way that we have it positioned, it isn't planned that way. I guess my question is, can plans be rearranged so that we could do such a thing? And I certainly, I don't have any appetite for increasing the cost
Right.
by any means, so I don't want to send that message. But I just think that it's worth putting in the effort to say, well, could we rearrange some things and then make this work for our Magna community?
Yeah, we could check on that. Like Dawn said, there's a greater chance of doing some spring sports, maybe track, maybe a baseball or softball game, but nothing this summer. And again, part of it is they have scheduled their work. All these subs have scheduled their work and have other jobs, and so they knew when this was going to hit. And so now to ask them to move it forward, outside of money being an enhancement, they're not in. We could ask. They don't have to do anything contractually, but money does always talk. So.
Julie, can I just make a comment also? A few people in my community said they're kind of excited about using the school one last time. So like the last season of football at the old school, because it's been there so long that they're kind of looking forward to like kind of those last season games.
If that's true, cancel my comments.
And the spring sports would make more sense if you want to know, because we don't play all our spring sports on site. So spring sports, I would push for. Our baseball field's not on site. Our softball's on the Brockbank field. Our track only has 4 lanes. So spring sports would be a really great push for the 2025 spring maybe soft opening type thing for spring sports. But I think some groups are looking forward. We have a lot of alumni that are from Cypress and are looking forward to that last season at the old school.
We can look forward into these and communicate those with the principal, et cetera. Justin makes a great point that a lot of our subcontractors that are not on site, that are part of these specialties, they're working at another school somewhere else, don't have a window to come here. But also, just to highlight, a lot of the trades that are on site, be it electrical, plumbers, et cetera, they're scheduled to do their work and finish the building. And so it sounds simple, but when you have 100 people on site concentrating on a schedule that stays in front of the next person and the next person and the next person, while we can look into it, you are asking for Herculean efforts, and while we'll investigate it, it is hard. I just want you to know that those type of advancements are hard because it comes at the expense of something else on the project.
I really trust that my colleague knows her community, and I withdraw my comments.
I will say that having been out there last little bit, I feel very good about the team in the job trailer, what they're doing, how they're tracking, and they feel very good about the spring of next year, 25, being done. I think the contractual date is the 26th or 27th of May of 2025, and they're feeling very good about being done then, and which would give us the whole summer to move in and get set up and test everything. So we're feeling, knock on wood, we're feeling very good about how things are tracking there at Cypress right now. Should we jump to Skyline, if that's okay? Okay. Skyline, again, all kinds of activities. It's a beehive of... Oh, no. Oh, did we lose it? I got a flashlight. Oh. Didn't need to.
Computer updates, right?
Lost it all.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Running through a quick list, and we'll show you the photos. Activity stair in the main area is going in, fully erected. You'll see in a moment drywall and framing in the area of the cafeteria, ceiling grid going throughout the building, casework, our cabinets are even on level 4, which is exciting. A lot of glass going in. The testing center drywall, mud and taped, which is exciting to see that space take shape. The trophy shelving is being installed in the new athletics vestibule. Tile throughout the building. Again, I said that fire sprinklers and the framing in the south tower has started, which is exciting. So we'll jump in and show you there. As you can see there, that first photo on the left is looking kind of west at the academic building with the cafeteria and the commons to the right. And then that commons area is going to be exciting in both schools. It's going to be fabulous, going to have fabulous views. You can see the learning stair there on the left that's in, and they're working on getting that the rails and everything in there. Some glazing, excuse me. So this is looking through the vestibule. If you've been up to Skyline, this is the main entry into the vestibule into the main gymnasium. This vestibule is now almost finished, but it's usable. They're just waiting on some glass for some of that trophy. But you can look through the trophy case right there as you're looking due west and see the testing center far down there with the gym on the right and the admin suite on the left. And that's the same setup that you'll be at Cypress, which is really cool. You can see in the corner there a little bit of the inlaid floor of one of the old Skyline Eagles there as they walk into their new gym, which is really cool. Again, I said millwork. This is the science lab. You can see those snorkels that come down for the science kiddos in their classes, and you see the cabinetry going in, which is exciting to see that happening now. Level 3 there. Ceiling grid. You can see running everywhere, which is awesome. They'll wait to do the tile later, but the grid's going in, which is exciting. Testing center. You can see the drywall, and right there at the top of the screen is the big door that will separate that testing center into 2 large rooms, or it can be opened into one even larger room. And it's also the alumni room. It can be used for professional development, AP testing, you name it. So really cool space. main entrance vestibule framing there to the right is going into the main office, and then you see a little bit on the left is those learning stairs going up there to the second story media center. Drywall down the corridors, large soffit there, a lot of mechanical work going in, and then right now no changes that need to come before the board. That's the skyline slides. Any questions about skyline?
Okay, there's no questions. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to invite Rick Anthony and Noel Converse to come up. We have a presentation about the sex education materials. Just as a note, this has been taken from the thank you. As an action item, because due to some just an accidental issue that happened, it was not sent out as they thought it was. So it will be sent out so anybody interested can view those materials and give comments within this next month, and then it will be brought back in March.
Thank you. Thank you, Board President. We're just pulling up the presentation. Yeah, and as the Board President said, it was an oversight that we did post the materials online, but it did not get pushed out through the bulletin. So we're going to add that for another 30 days.
We'll move the action item to March, so later that piece we'll just skip over. But the presentation we have for you, we're going to continue with is essentially the process for sex ed materials.
Yeah, and those are currently available online right now. And I believe Ben also included those in the newsletter for this month. So you'll see those online, and you can feel free to review those as well. Okay.
We're getting a little bit of a tutorial in board book presentation here. Ben's helping us.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and just present the overview of the process for sex education instructional material review. And then you can ask any questions you like as we complete that. It's pretty short and sweet, but with both Utah Code and Administrative Memo 128 in the district, you as a board have designated a committee that reviews all of the intended or proposed instructional materials that have to do with sex education. And that's in alignment with our standards within the health curriculum, so within the Utah core curriculum. And so there is a committee that is comprised equally of both parents and educators within the district, and that is a requirement. So there can never be any less parents than there are educators or district employees on that committee. And that committee also is if we have a parent that has to drop out of the committee mid-year, we immediately replace that parent as quickly as possible. If there is an employee that has to drop out, the next cycle. So we always make sure that we're erring on the side of more parents or equal parents to employees. The committee, in adherence with both the code and with our policy in the district, convenes twice annually, and there's once in the fall and then once in the spring. And they review any instructional materials that are presented, so any printed materials, any presentations that organizations bring to us, anything that a teacher would like to use as a material to teach the core standards that have to do with sex education.
Wrong way.
Okay.
Oh,
That was
sorry.
great.
I'm figuring it out.
As I said, the committee reviews material each time any new or updated material is proposed. So for example, we have one material that has currently been, or has previously been adopted by the board, but had just some slight tweaks in the language. So we we revisit that as a committee and they revote on the update. So anytime there's any change in any of the language, it gets updated. And then anytime any new material is proposed. So if we have teachers or we have an organization that comes or we have a patron that comes and wants something to be considered for review, the Sex Education Committee reviews that. And then following the review, the committee convenes and votes, and there must be a 2/3 majority for it to pass out of the committee and then be recommended. So once it's ready for recommendation, the public review period starts, and that's a 30-day period. So for 30 days, it's posted. As we said, there was an oversight in communicating that out, so while it was posted, it wasn't necessarily easy to find. So we're adding another 30 days for that to give every patron, every parent a opportunity to respond to the materials that they see, and those materials are as you see here, and there's links to those as well. So one is from the Rape Recovery Center, and they've updated their presentation, which is included. The materials are just some slight tweaks in language and updates, and I think they kind of updated the style of the presentation as well. 100% of the 23-24 10-member committee recommended it for approval, and there were no dissenting comments. Brain Heart World has 3 documentaries on the effects of viewing pornography and focus on 9 through 12. So this is restricted to 9 through 12, so Health 2 curriculum. Those courses are the only courses. This is material that's facilitated by the teacher, so it's not as though it's something that they're posting on Canvas or saying this website is free to access. The teacher is specifically facilitating those 3 documentary videos. This is newly introduced. We haven't had this before. It's a new curricula, and 94% of the 22, 23, 18-member committee approved it with no dissenting comments. So that is basically where we stand right now, and now what we're waiting for is public comment, and once we have the public comments, we will bring back the public comment to you as a board and give you respond to that. If there's a lot of concern, the committee will reconvene and consider that that feedback, and then we will present it as an action item moving forward.
I have a question. So these are 2 different new curriculum to adopt. One of them has a 10-member committee recommended, and then the other one has an 18. So who are the other people that are doing that?
So the 22-23 committee had 18 members. It really is a dynamic membership change year to year based on being able to recruit enough people to participate. We have a challenging time having committee members be able to have the time to serve on this committee, because it does become a kind of extensive review of materials, as you've heard us say, in regard to other instructional adoptions. Last year we had 18. We really struggled last year with getting everything read in time. So in the spring, they reviewed the materials. It took, I'll say, over 4 months to get the materials read because committee members just were busy and they could not get it done. So by the time we got the committee recommendation, too late to come to the board when we got all of that material done. So that was 18 members. We pared back just based on people who said, I just can't commit to this. So we went with 5 and 5 this year who we felt like could really read the material in a reasonable amount of time so that we could move their recommendations forward. So that's the difference. So actually, the Brain Heart World was recommended by last year's committee, but it's not making it until now because of the timeline that it took to get it read. The committee this year did also review Brain Heart World, didn't find anything that they would felt they needed to bring it to another vote, and just stood with the vote that was there. So, and then they reviewed the new Rape Recovery Center materials as a committee.
Thank you so much.
Hopefully that answers that.
Yeah, thank you.
I had a question. It's not in the slideshow here, but in the documentation attached to the agenda, we were provided some data about pornography exposure within the LEA, within the district. And as I looked at that, I had a question for myself that you already answered, but I thought since other people looking at that might have the same question, hope you could answer it during the meeting. So it just gives data about the number of instances or complaints about different things like graphic illustrations, pornography, whatever. It goes to the list. But my question was, so does that data include instances of pornography exposure that might have happened due to books in our libraries or on our school shelves, which we are trying to address, but does that data include that number, and why or why not?
Yeah, and some additional context, if that's okay. The information that we provided you is asked for in state statute that we summarize for you discipline incidents related to pornography, et cetera. And so you'll see that in the supplemental materials that we've provided. We get that data from Educators Handbook. So Educators Handbook's a platform that we use in our schools around student discipline, tracking, there's some data visualization, et cetera. So we grab that information to provide to you from there. The challenge on what specifically was the item that resulted in the offense is not something that we record on the platform. We may record it in the narrative. So for example, if I'm the assistant principal and Rick is sent to me for pornography, I would select in the platform where it happened, whether it's classroom, the area, what time of day, all these data points. A data point that is not there is what was the material. What I might do is I might type in the narrative, hey, Rick had this item that he brought or whatever. I might type it in the narrative, but we don't have a way to scrape narratives in Educators Handbook to be able to disaggregate what the items were. We tease it out a little bit by the offense name, but it's difficult to get to your data point, Board Member Chandler, on was this library material or was this teacher supplemental material? We don't have an easy way of doing that.
I wonder if you could just describe how these committee members are recruited or how they find out to volunteer.
Yeah, so thanks for that. Employees, we strong arm to it. No, we ask people to volunteer their extra time to be able to commit. We really do look for school nurses as a complement to educators as well. So we look for personnel that have varying perspectives, administration, teacher, nurse, and then for parents,
Wait, and let me just qualify. You said they are volunteers. They do not get a stipend.
Oh, yeah, they're volunteers. And then for parents, we primarily go to the PTA because they have offered to help us find individuals to help us out.
Board Member Jackson, I think this is an important point, though. Transparently, parent volunteers has been a challenge for us in this realm. RFPs as well. So when we're acquiring larger products and we want parent input, it's not an easy thing for a parent in terms of a time commitment. So we're always brainstorming on how we can do a better job of that. And even recently, and we'll talk about it in the next presentation when we're looking at adoptions RFP side, brainstorming solutions on how we can increase our parent pool around some of these efforts. And really we have a lot of parents who do want to help. It's just depending on the size of the RFP, it can be quite a commitment in terms of time, and that historically has been a challenge for us.
I will add, however, that when we did a presentation earlier at the District Community Council, that resulted in a parent interest that went to Board Member Winder, and she was able to forward that, and that individual is going to serve on our next RFP. So your solicitation is very valuable in that process as well.
I was going to add to that. That's exactly what I was going to point out. She said PTA. I'd also point out those solicitations go to school community councils as well, because it's kind of sometimes a different subset of our school volunteers. We've used DCC to solicit volunteers, and/or we have come to you in certain instances when we're trying to regionalize a volunteer group to see if you have folks, if we're underrepresented in a specific area.
Can I ask a follow-up question to Kim's comment and question? Did I miss the reason why the source of the pornographic material is not a data point? Why is that not tracked?
I guess a simple answer is in that platform, Educator's Handbook, it does not have a field for that. I'm guessing it's a national company. I'm guessing historically their customer base has not asked for what material was related to this offense. Again, we'll usually capture it in the narrative. Some of it too is, and a challenge with Educator Handbook is, Educator Handbook really has two primary purposes. One is decision-making at the local level. So decision-making at the school level. For example, hey, how are we doing on office referrals as a school? What's our PBS system like? Are we lowering those? It's that decision-making. Where are all our problems? Are they mostly in the hallways? Are they mostly in classrooms? And so that company has, over the years, identified what kinds of decision-making items do local schools want, and they've built those into their product. There just hasn't been enough of a call for what was the item tied to this specific offense. The other half for Educator's Handbook oftentimes is just a speed of communication around how specific students are doing and different levels of support depending on offenses that student has perhaps had or what they're working through as well. It's just a nice, slick way for teachers to be able to communicate with administration on student behavior.
Thanks.
Just to clarify, that's only like if a teacher catches a kid doing something, right?
Or anyone catches them, right, and brings them to the office and, hey, this kid had something inappropriate. One thing I can tell you is the biggest culprit around pornographic items are cell phones.
So it's not like a kid is going to go check out, per your question, I guess. They're not going to go check a book out and then go self-report. I'm looking at something inappropriate, right?
I mean, it could happen, but usually, when we pull up those offenses, the overwhelming majority are cell phone related.
Okay. I did have a question on the committee members. Just looking at that list that you sent, it said that there's somebody who's a secondary health specialist who's the committee chair. I assume that's our employee, and then there's 5 other employees and then 5 parents. So does that the committee chair not vote?
Correct, thank you. Yes, so the committee chair does not vote. She serves as the facilitator of all of the information.
Okay. I just want to make sure that was clear.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
Just one other clarifying question. I think I read it somewhere, but there's a lot of pages in our agenda this month. I couldn't find it again when I was looking for it right now, but I think it said somewhere that this curriculum is being considered because somebody specifically requested we add these items?
Correct.
Okay. So just a teacher in the district,
Yes.
somebody was
Yes.
hoping we could add them? Okay.
Yep, a teacher team at the high school level recommended these, yes.
Okay.
And then the Rape Recovery Center, however, we check on an annual basis on any of our currently approved materials to ensure that there aren't any updates that they may have that they may have failed to tell us about. So we revisit that and make sure that if there are any updates, that it goes back to the committee.
So that one was not a request. That's because there were some minor changes?
That was because they said we have an update. Mhm.
Okay. And I have reviewed all the material. There's a lot of material, and I do have some definite pros, some definite concerns, but I would like to hear what the community has to say first before I jump in on that, so thank you.
Yeah, and we'll provide you all those comments prior to March's board meeting.
Any further questions or comments? Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to the ELA curriculum adoption.
I'm just learning how to navigate. No glasses is hurting me right now. There we go. There we go. And then just tell it full view. Page by page, full screen. Okay. A couple objectives of this short presentation is provide a summary of the acquisition of curricular instructional materials, and then I'll also introduce to you a committee recommended, an RFP committee recommended purchase for core materials for ELA in elementary. Just tying it back to our strategic plan, academic side, academic priority, and literacy objective. Also wanted just to, by way of introduction, myself and Noel, just show you a copy of our org chart and where curriculum and instruction lies. Three links here four links that I provided you here give us a lot of guidance and direction around acquisition of instructional materials. Senate Bill 55, which I'll speak to, Utah Code, our own board policy, and then a topics guide that we've developed to help teachers have some direction, guardrails, if you will, around supplemental materials, and I'll get to that part as well. But wanted you to have the links to all of these. Senate Bill 55, I'll get on my soapbox here for a minute because I think a curriculum can be a little bit confusing because it's such a broad word. It's a word that encompasses a lot of things. It encompasses standards. It encompasses learning materials. It encompasses scope and sequence. So when someone says curricular, there's a lot of pieces in that. Within learning materials, there's some pieces within that. And Senate Bill 55 has provided us some vocabulary words, if you will, or some definitions that we're going to start to use often in our explanations. Learning materials, instructional materials, supplemental materials. I just want to go through those. In that bill, it gives us the definition of learning materials as a resource used to deliver or support a student's learning. So learning materials becomes this umbrella word. Instructional materials becomes material that a local school board adopts and approves for use within the LEA. So we're going to be bringing to you instructional materials whenever we have a major adoption, and I'm going to disaggregate or speak to parts of that in just a second. I did want to note the bill excludes concurrent AP and IB adoptions or ancillary materials from coming to the board. Instructional materials, and these are these two definitions are granite definitions. These are definitions that we're going to run with because I think it's important to separate instructional materials, which are all approved by the board, into two parts, core and ancillary. Core are your larger adoptions, your big price tag adoptions. Ancillary ends up being exactly that, ancillary materials. And where that can get a little bit tricky in the definition is sometimes you want to replace supplemental with ancillary. But supplemental has its own definition, which I'll get to. So just trying to tease out for the board, you might hear these core instructional material adoption, ancillary materials, core materials. Just trying to get us in the habit of using that vocabulary as we move forward. Language in the bill is local school board shall make instructional materials that the school district uses readily accessible and available for parents to view, establish an open process involving educators and parents of students enrolled in the LEA to review and recommend instructional materials for the board. So similar to what we were doing logistically with the sex ed materials, we will be doing with this adoption that we will bring to you as an action item next month. On our back end on the website, we've created a login methodology for anyone who wants to review our RFP winner and leave comment, and we will bring that to you next month. Other requirements that are new, and I review these because these are new. These weren't necessarily requirements we'd ever had before. Post the recommended learning material online to allow for review before adopting it. Hold at least 2 public meetings on the recommended materials, providing opportunity for opinion. So this would be a first of 2 meetings on on who we've selected, who the committee has selected from the RFP. Board adopts and approves instructional materials in an open board meeting. That's what we will bring to you as an action item next month. Adopt a supplemental materials policy that provides flexible guidance to educators on the selection of supplemental materials using the educator's professional judgment. Language in that bill as well. And again, teasing out ancillary from supplemental. I've got a couple slides talking through supplemental here. Just by reminder, on the second or third slide, I have the board policy link that speaks to supplemental materials as well.
So the opportunity for opinion that we are going to be giving today in our public meeting is just public comment? Or is there a separate, it's just,
Public comment.
okay, but we will not be voting on this today or
Correct. Next month.
Next month,
Correct.
after public comment, then we will vote on it.
Correct.
Okay.
I will have all those comments in your packet.
And public comment will be allowed during the meeting.
So there's both, I can comment on when I go to the website and check it out, and then there's also public comment, which will happen today during our normal public comment, and also
next month.
Next month during our normal public comment.
Yeah, thank you for that, Board President. That is another opportunity. I just gave you the link here to how you can access the materials. And the winner of that RFP or the highest points earned was an HMH Houghton Mifflin Hardcourt product called Into Reading. This is what someone who logs in will see as their way to go in and view the materials online. I did want to hit, once again, supplemental materials, that idea. So supplemental material definition being teacher-selected materials at that classroom level. We have, and I gave you the link on, I want to say the third slide again, a topics guide that's providing guidance to teachers on supplemental materials that they use. Those are not brought before the board and tend to be can be very teacher-specific in what materials they're using to teach the standards. Topic guide is quite long, but I think it gives you a sense. We emphasize neutrality and try and help teachers make good decisions around neutrality in how they're teaching. With that, again, next month we won't have a presentation for you per se. We'll just have the action item. We'll provide the comments that were given, and then also it'll be open to any public comment during that time as well.
Any questions or comments? Go for it.
Does the state board review this, and then we have certain approved curriculums that we can look at?
Yeah, actually, SB 127 has defined some requirements for what a core ELA product can include. And so they've identified at the state level products that they've approved that align with the science of reading. And so there were 3 products that were allowed to be included in the RFP because we specifically in the RFP said it had to adhere to state rules and to legislation. So we drew from those vendors, and those vendors all presented their materials, and this product was the high point.
And, sorry, go ahead, Rick.
And Noel could speak to this better than me, but what I have learned as well is the state board does try and be helpful around instructional materials using, it's an acronym, RIMS. They'll provide a lot of products that they've vetted, that they've looked through as opportunities as school boards or school districts, but they don't dictate you will use these. Senate Bill 127 probably comes the closest to that in narrowing the field, but we don't see hard line from USB, this is the instructional materials you use. The standards very much so, but not necessarily instructional materials.
Okay, I thought I remembered that. The next question is, the current curriculum we're using, Wonders, is that one of the 3?
Yeah, it was.
It is, okay. And my understanding is, I mean, I just know from substituting that Wonders doesn't have a textbook, like a print book. Does this have print books?
This is a combination of printed and electronic materials. So that was one of the preferences that we had in our RFP. What we've found is that teachers prefer to have both a tangible presence with some hands-on materials, workbooks and that kind of thing, but also have some an online presence, which is pretty much the standard these days.
And can you speak at all to any other reasons why we preferred Into Reading to Wonders?
You know what, I was not on the RFP, and I'm not
Okay.
privy to the details of it, so I can't.
Okay.
I will say, Board Member Jackson, and Noel can correct me keep me honest here. You know, in an RFP, you have your criteria, and one of those criteria is price as well, and each of those criteria are weighted, and you decide the weighting as a committee outside of price, what's important to you. My understanding is what was selected had the highest score outside of price even. Everyone felt the best about this selection based on the criteria that they felt was important. It scored the highest. Price comes in and can influence that somewhat. In this case, it was a win-win.
And I guess I can qualify your question a little bit more. When the RFP was written, it was written to reflect the state, at the SB 127 and the state rules behind that. So we tried to adhere very closely to what the expectations were in terms of ELA instruction. So to that end, I can say, I would imagine there's a strong presence in early literacy acquisition that maybe hadn't been in the previous material quite as strong, but I'm speculating on that.
I'm really thrilled to hear that there will be books. That has really frustrated me, that our kids are learning to read but not in books. That seems very counterintuitive to me. So, and there's so much data about how much more a person gets out of reading the actual text than when they read the digital version of it. So I'm thrilled we're making that move.
I appreciate that question. Thank you, because I agree. I have two questions. Just one about the communication, about, pushing it out to the community. So I know I got an email that I'm looking at right now about the opportunity to review. I didn't get the same kind of email still for the sex ed curriculum. Is that still coming? I know it's in the parent link. I'm just curious about the difference in the way we're communicating between the two. And then also, in our slides here, we show SB 55 shows we have to have at least 2 public meetings where parents can comment or the community can comment. We are by default going to now for the first one, but we weren't. Why is that different?
Okay, so I might have you restate the second half. The first half is the sex ed email is coming.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll have that sent out, and help me understand the second question around.
So we were going to initially vote, it was an action item, the sex ed curriculum
Yep.
tonight.
Oh, okay, yes. Sex ed requirements is only one board meeting requirement, and those requirements in that law is, oh gosh, more than a decade old in when that was established. This newer one is new and states across 2 board meetings. So that's the difference between the two.
So it's excluded from SB 55. It's not
Yeah.
what it covers, I guess, another way to say it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I had one more question. Is that okay, Madam Chair? So, I understand that there has been this history of, how it's best to teach kids how to read. And there's a movement towards the science of reading, which is more phonics, which I'm thrilled and excited about as an English teacher. And I'm wondering, we used to use a system that was the benchmark system by Fountas and Pinnell, right? Which was kind of based on the queuing system. And I'm wondering if we are still seeing that in our schools. and how we're using that.
Well, I can speak to the cueing system that, and where it belongs in the science of reading. It really is one of those practices that is not included in the current letters and science of reading movement. So I think with the letters training that all of our teachers have received, their focus is really on all of the foundational elements of literacy instruction. So cueing really is one of those things that has been a controversial practice, that because it ultimately conflates two aspects of literacy instruction, one which is phonemic awareness and phonics and understanding how our mind starts to learn how to read, and the other is comprehension. And so being able to, cueing misrepresents or conflates those two things. So you're not going to find the Fontes and Pinnell strategies in the current letters practices, and you won't find it in the current materials that we're proposing to be adopted.
Do we use it to assess?
No, we wouldn't use that. We have very specific progress monitoring, we have screeners, and we have assessments that are built into the programs.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no other questions? All right, we're going to go ahead and take a break for dinner, and we will reconvene here back at 7 o'clock. Thank you so much.